Welcome back to Tigers on the Mic. I'm Drew Maxey, joined by the co-hosts Charlie Cohen, Bennett, and Christian. We're excited to bring you another great conversation diving into the stories and experiences behind Clemson athletics and the world of sports communication.
Thanks, Drew. That's right. Every week, we explore how athletes, media, and culture intersects here at Clemson. From walk-ons to rising stars to student broadcasters, each story gives us a new look at what it means to be part of Tiger Nation.
Yep. And today we're focusing on one of the programs that honestly I've been very interested in talking about. I feel like I always see teams from all over the country, raid our dining halls for this sport, um, which is Clemson rowing. And we're joined today by Ava Tarzian, who's going to give us an inside look on, you know, what her day-to-day looks like, how the sport is growing, and what it looks like here at Clemson.
Yep, we know rowing's all about being synced up with your teammates and trusting one another. You can't win unless everybody's pulling together. Um, that kind of teamwork creates a really unique culture within the sport, and we're going to talk about how that connects to leadership, motivation, and just representation within college athletics.
So without further ado, we're really excited to welcome our guest today, Clemson rower Ava Tarzian. Ava's been part of a program that competes at the highest level in the ACC, and she's going to share what life is like as a Division I rower, from early morning practices in Lake Hartwell to balancing academics and athletics.
Hi, everyone. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
Thanks
Of
for coming
course.
on.
So I guess I'll get us started, Ava. I was reading your bio just on like the Clemson athletics page, um, and just rowing, like I said before, is a unique sport. How'd you get in? Because I saw you only started in fall of 22, right? Which would be your freshman year.
Yes, that was my freshman year. So,
So yeah, what really got you into it?
so I was actually a swimmer my whole life. I started swimming at the age of 3. During my senior year of high school, I struggled a lot with performance anxiety, so I decided to let it go for my last year and kind of just enjoy it. I wanted to go into college with a fresh start and kind of just build my own path. So I knew friends from back home who had transitioned from swimming to rowing within their collegiate career. So I reached out to one of our assistant coaches for our team. And to be honest, I had no idea what rowing was before I started. I had no idea how it worked. So she told me that they were holding tryouts tomorrow, like the next day. And for 2 weeks, they would just be going over the basics of fitness and technique. And at the end of all of it, they just read off the names of who made it and who got cut.
Nice, nice. So how on the rowing team, like what does a typical day look like in the season?
So we train about 20 hours a week, give or take some extra time for warm up and treatment and stuff like that. I wake up at 5:20 every morning. Warm up starts at 6. Practice goes from 6:20 to 8:20. In the morning, we'll be out on the water for 2 hours, or we'll work out in the erg room depending on weather and temperature and stuff like that. Each morning does vary. It could be pieces like 2Ks, 4Ks, 6Ks, or just steady state work. This fall season, our Wednesdays are our test piece days. So that could be like a 30-minute test, 4 by 10 minutes, 6K, or 2 by 6K, which is actually what we did this morning. And we'll usually get breakfast at our new facility that they made for us and then head to class. In the afternoon, we'll have either a weight session on Monday and Wednesdays. Tuesday afternoons are our 90-minute bike workout. And then Thursday is our on your own workout. Friday is a team workout. And then Saturdays, we have practice for 4 hours, which is water training and cross training on land.
Wow. That's a lot,
Wow.
a lot of practice. When is the season? Like what months?
So fall season is 5Ks, and then spring season is 2Ks. So we are kind of all year round.
Does the whole like the whole team does both?
Yes. So usually we'll race eights and fours. So, but everyone does do the 5Ks and everyone does do 2Ks. It just depends on if you hit the racing standard. So our coaches hit a certain time that you have to hit on the erg in order to go on the water, and then they'll give us another time that we have to hit and be in order to race. So you have to hit those times if you want to go traveling and stuff like that.
Do you have
Yeah.
a preferred distance?
I like 5Ks.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's it's crazy to hear like how much more work goes into it than people definitely think about or talk about. Because
Hmm.
like for a sport like basketball or football or something, everyone will talk about, oh, like they have to lift all this stuff. Like they get their whole schedule like handed to them and it's just
Hmm.
tailored around practice times. But you don't think about like with the rowing team, like you're putting in just as much work as like any other athlete here. So that was really
Hmm.
interesting for me to hear. But I'm thinking about how rowing is really like the definition of a team sport. And everyone has to be perfectly in sync the whole time. So how do you and your teammates build that kind of chemistry and trust together?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's something we've been working on, especially it's been freezing these past few days, so we've been inside a lot. But they try to keep us in sync on the erg because that's what we're going to be doing on the water. So it's definitely, we do a lot of team bonding. It's not like we're forced to, we love to do it. We love each other. We're all best friends. I mean, we genuinely do treasure the time we get together. It's only 4 years, so we are so grateful for it. And we get to do this every single day. I mean, it is hard, but we do love it, and that's something that we all share. We trust each other. We know everyone's going to put the work in, and we also give each other grace when the day isn't going so well. So I think we just always have each other's back, whether it's going great or not. We will pick each other up if someone needs to pick up that extra 30% that someone's missing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, that goes for a lot of sports, but like especially with rowing, just because of like, just the way that it goes and everything. But yeah, I think that that's just like the team bonding part of it. And like again, like you're doing the same thing, like competing and all the things like every single day you're seeing these people spending time with them trying to get better. I think that's like for me, like I just play intramurals in club and like do that twice a week. And I feel like, I'm ready to be done by the end of the week. And so I can't imagine what y'all do. So it's really cool, like see how much you really gotta love it to dedicate so much of your life to it like that.
Yeah, I entirely agree. Um, so Ava and I grew up actually swimming against each other and with each other. Um, and I don't think a lot of people outside the sport of swimming and especially rowing, realize how mentally tough it is. So how would you compare it to your time growing up swimming and what goes through your head like during a race, especially when you start to get tired and fatigue sets in?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely compare this to swimming. I've done track, so it's close to those individual sports, but it very much is a team sport. You are gonna be with seven other girls, three other girls in the boat. You have to be in sync. Your catches have to be together. So when I first started rowing, I didn't realize it would be the hardest sport I have ever done in my entire life. In the fall, like I said, we do distance pieces, and in the spring, it's a little bit shorter. It's 2Ks. So that gives you a lot of time to get in your head. It's not just a quick, like 200-meter dash. You have to sit in that pain for a while. So
Mhm.
when you hit that halfway point in the race, you are exhausted. And you can either finish strong or you can give into that pain and let it take over your body. And that is your choice. I mean, you're surrounded by seven other girls doing the exact same thing that you're doing, and you're all on the Division 1 level. I mean, you signed up for this, like you knew what you were going to give.
Mhm.
So you might as well give it everything you have got.
Mhm.
And I don't want to let them down. They don't want to let me down. It's like we want to make each other proud. We want to make our coaches proud. So it's just trusting your fitness and
Mhm.
knowing that you've put the work in the whole year, and we only get 4 races a year. So it's just giving it everything you have for those 4 races in the spring.
Is there a specific like course or like competition or race that's the hardest that you
Yes. So this was I was actually out all last fall with an injury, but I wasn't able to go last year, but this fall was head of the Charles, and
I've
it
heard about that.
yes, so I've been so excited to go to this race my whole rowing career, but basically there is one sharp turn. It's about a 90-degree turn, and you are in a boat, and you gotta like learn how to put pressure on one side, the coxswain steering the boat. So you have to make sure you don't mess up that turn. You can't crash into other boats. It's just kind of like figuring it out together.
Mhm.
So that was probably the most fun course I've been on. I can say it
Wow,
was the best race I've ever been to. It was hard, but I had a great time. Yeah.
I love that. And especially we also lifeguarded together. Did
Yes.
you ever get in the boat during lifeguarding?
Yes, for a little bit. I was in part-time at that time.
Okay.
So I wasn't in tournaments. I think I did a women's tournament, but it's definitely very different from being in that boat
Yeah.
because you're obviously in the ocean. You're going, it's like you're not, the boat's not set. So
Waves, the whole,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, quick question here. What do you think makes it so much harder compared to swimming? Because swimming's another sport. Like, honestly, I have a lot of respect for. Like, that's a full body, like, you're working in the water. Were you used to doing shorter distant races in swimming? Or is there just an entirely different muscle group that's being activated in rowing that you think is hitting harder?
Um, I did kind of like everything. I did like butterfly and breaststroke, so I wasn't really a freestyle girl, but I did like the mile and I did like the 1,000. So, um, it's just you're looking at the back of a girl's head for like a very long time. So it's like there's not much going on. It's not like a ball sport where you're kind of like engaging with other athletes and it's like not contact. It's just you're kind of just you have to stay focused and it's like a mental battle as well of like how can I fight like boredom and how can I fight pure exhaustion. So with swimming, I feel like it is the same. You are looking at a black line, but I don't like the specific training that we do is so hard. I mean, but I think every sport is difficult in its own way. It's just like personally for me, this is just maybe because I'm doing it at like a collegiate level. I don't know what college swimmers do, so
Mhm.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, people always talk about like running being very mental and stuff, but at least you're running by different people and like
yeah.
different places and on the track and whatnot. But that's crazy.
That gets me interested though. Now that like you're on a boat, with a bunch of girls just staring at the back of each other's head.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever like, is there any like small talk that goes on and you're like, oh my God, yo, this sucks. Like, God.
Yeah, no, I mean like we'll be on the erg like literally this morning. I like look over to my teammate and I'm like, this is about to be it was like 2 by 25 minutes, all out as fast as you could with 10 minutes rest in between. I looked over at her and I'm like, this is about to be the first 20 seconds. I'm like, it's gonna be the worst 15 minutes of my life. Yeah, but I got you. Like, and then
Mhm.
we'll say like, yeah, girls in the middle of a piece, like small things you can kind of like encourage girls without saying a full sentence because obviously you're gassed. But we love to keep the energy up. That's what really go keeps us going. You get that different type of adrenaline. Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
What would you say is like the funniest thing you've ever heard, like, mid row?
Um, I wouldn't say it's like during rowing, but it has to be one of my teammates. As student athletes, we get a lot of perks. We get free football tickets. So we have to line up um like outside the gate to get our tickets before the game. And this was for the LSU game. And you know, it was crazy. All the athletes were fighting to get a ticket because they only give a certain amount away. And one of our teammates texted in our group me and they were like, whoever cut in line, I hope you do bad on your next test piece. And I like will take that down to one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my entire life.
That's awesome.
Always rowing terms whenever we're not in the water.
Um, it was funny, like we're talking about like sort of comparing rowing to cross country a little bit, or like, just running or just, those types of endurance things where it's really just mental and you're doing it for a long time. So I did cross country in high school
Mhm.
and it just reminded me of this story whenever we were all running and we really didn't like the course we were on and it kind of just sucked.
Mhm.
And then this guy, he was crazy, like wasn't very good, but he was on our team and he had like a bunch of grapes in his hand in the middle of a race that he just like kept with him and he started like throwing them at the people in front of us and it like went down the guy's shirt and everyone started like chirping. It was so funny. But
Oh
anyways,
my
yeah,
gosh. Maybe I'll try that one day.
yeah, yeah, totally do that, do
Great
that.
method.
We'll be at
Yeah.
the ACC championships and I'll do that.
Yeah. I got one last question for you. If you could go back in time and give yourself some advice whenever you first started, or give younger athletes right now some advice, talking considering joining a rowing team or something like that, what would you tell them? Just like from your experience, what would you give your younger self, and what would you give young athletes now that are considering getting into rowing?
Hmm. Yeah, I've actually asked myself, or I've been asked a lot, if I could go back to freshman year, would I do this again? And I've took a lot of time to think about it because last January I was in a really bad headspace. I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish it. I was just like, this is really tough on me. January and February is kind of like those tough months. But I would in a heartbeat. I mean, yes, it's very difficult and you need that different type of self-motivation that not everyone has. But being a part of this team has truly like changed who I am in the best way possible. And I've literally dreamed about becoming this version of myself forever. And I mean, I can confidently say that I finally found her. It's I've been so grateful for all these girls, like my roommates, my coaches. We got a brand new coaching staff last year, so I can truly thank all my personal success to them as well. I mean, you just really have to be, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into, and you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's not going to be fun every day, but
Right.
you're not going to have, you're not going to have spring break. You don't get fall break. Your Christmas break is cut in half. You stay after school ends in summer, but the friendships and the lessons you learn from it make it 100% worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's really great that like you found that, sort of through reflection and stuff. And I think that's just like one of the best parts about sports is that like even, you're challenging yourself so much that it pushes you outside of boundaries that you normally set for yourself, just trying to be comfortable in it turns you into something that you would not have been otherwise. And there's no other way to, reach those levels in yourself unless there's a lot of pressure applied and a lot of times whenever you're like, I don't know if I can do this. And then you just find a way to do it. And then that's whenever real growth happens. So that was a great response. I love that.
I have another one for you, Ava. Something. So this podcast is for our sport news media class, and something we talk about a lot is media convergence and like sort of we kind of like focus a lot on more underrepresented sports. I mean, our first uh, guest for this podcast was a track athlete.
Hmm.
He mentioned how, kind of like the biggest way to watch college track is you have to get on this like app called Flow Track, I think it's called, and they
Hmm.
kind of have a monopoly on everything. Is there anything you know of where you can watch rowing? Is it highlighted or do you think it's unrepresented?
Um, I think with certain races, it is highlighted well. Rowing is a very difficult sport to watch because it's just such a long race, but especially with track, I mean, it's like you can't follow every single athlete with a camera. But with in the spring, we are on ESPN. I think with certain race like Big Tens and ACC Championship, that and like Lake Wheeler, when we go to North Carolina, it it is shown well. There could be something a little bit better, I feel like. But like I said, in the fall, it's pretty hard when you have like every boat going 10 seconds after each other and there's 70 boats. So it is a difficult sport to watch. Yeah.
Do you
Well,
think it could be a benefit if if it got a little bit more exposure, maybe, future generations could be more interested in rowing because it's a great opportunity. Once you get to college, you can get scholarship
Yeah,
for it.
definitely. I think we've actually been hearing it a lot. Like a few people have been saying some like pretty nasty stuff that like we don't deserve, like all these things that we get, all these benefits. And it's just like what I mean, you have to try it. You have to see what we do. You have to see everything we put in. It's like we're putting in the 20 hours. So it's like I think we do need to bring some more light to the sport. But I mean, any person that I've brought to come watch one of our races, they like were like, I never thought it would be this cool. Like, it's so interesting watching like a head race and like there's 8 boats lined up next to each other and they're neck and neck and like you're gonna see who's gonna battle it out for that last like it's like swimming, every hundredth matters. So
mhm.
I mean, it's a fun sport to watch in my opinion, but yeah.
I remember going to one race and it was like the coolest thing ever. Like it really like I wish that it was as like highlighted as a sport like football, so to speak. And better. But thank you so much for sharing your story. It's inspiring to hear how much dedication goes into a sport that doesn't always get the same coverage but demands so much discipline.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Ava. Me too. Well, that was an awesome conversation with Ava. You could really hear how much rowing builds mental and physical strength, and just how much their teamwork defines really everything about their sport and what they do and everything that they take away from the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that connects perfectly to a bigger conversation about visibility and storytelling in college sports. Really, just how athletes from smaller programs can share their experiences in a way that cuts through the noise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's kick it off with a concept that we learned in class. We talked about in class, media visibility gaps. Even though the Title IX created more equitable opportunities for women in sports, the coverage still really heavily favors men's athletics, and we can see that here at college. Sports like rowing, volleyball, or track often don't get the same highlight treatment that football, basketball, baseball, sports like that do, or even soccer, even when the athletes are competing at an elite level.
Right. And what Ava kind of talked about, the early practices, the teamwork, the grind, it's just as demanding as what you see in football or basketball. But because rowing isn't a revenue sport, it has to rely more on storytelling and creative media to connect with fans.
Yeah, and that's where like social media would be really useful. Um, you know, I think if our Clemson Tigers page highlighted more of like the personalities and the trainings and the athletes of the rowing team, like there'd totally be a lot more traction to it. I didn't even really know that ESPN actually covered rowing in the spring.
Mhm.
And the way she was describing it, I mean, like if you get occasions where like it's in eight boats like within hundredths of a second from each other, like that's entertaining. Like if I like got that clip with like good commentary on my For You page, I would watch that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's kind of going along off of what y'all have said, but just like media framing in general. I mean, if I, and with all due respect to like there are football and basketball teams, but if I had any idea, if the media was able to frame rowing to as physically demanding and as impressive as a sport as we now know that it is, I would have been totally much more in tuned and I would be watching this much more than I currently am. I mean, I learned so much about the sport from our talk with her, and just if, yeah, like Christian said, if our Instagram team was able to capture that, or if more people were just able to be made aware of how demanding and impressive this sport is, I think a lot more people would just be watching it and be bought into the team and respect just the discipline and endurance that rowing really takes. Because I personally had no idea. I mean, I understood that it was a longer distance sport and endurance was a main factor, but I had no clue that it was this year long and practices were this early and just seriously how demanding it is on the mental side of things.
And I think that we can also kind of like Ava talked about, like just like the authenticity and like team culture like of rowing. Like one thing that stood out about Clemson women's rowing is just how like genuine the team culture is. Like they're not trying to be flashy. It's about toughness, teamwork, and tradition. Um, and that authenticity I feel like can like be their brand and make them like be more loved. And I feel as a fan, fans love when their teams feel real, which is like kind of similar to what we've talked about in class. Um, and the way that these rowers in specific support each other, the grind of those 5 a.m. rows, it's the kind of authenticity people and fans want to connect with.
Yeah, I think that's a sort of a part of sports that we definitely miss with like the bigger ones, like the authenticity, especially now with college sports with NIL and stuff. It's really hard to buy into programs whenever they say that they're all about family nowadays, whenever they're paying kids that are our age or younger, like $10 million to be there. So, yeah, I think that that definitely could be an advantage that like smaller sports in general have over the big ones is like how they can be more authentic. No one's there for the money. No one's there for like being famous or anything like they could be for football or basketball. But one thing that also struck me was when she was talking about how she started like the team started receiving a lot of negative feedback and criticism about how like they don't deserve to be labeled as like real athletes, right? They don't deserve like all the privileges that athletes get here. And that's something that I just never heard
Mhm.
before, like happening at Clemson with any sport. And we are talking about like how, like with football, like obviously we're not having that great of a year. So people will criticize the football team, but they'll never criticize them in the same way of like disrespecting them in the way of like, you don't, like you don't even deserve to be called an
Yeah, it's
athlete. Like
never
that's never,
questioning the legitimacy of them being an athlete.
yeah, exactly. It's always just questioning performance and stuff. So it's crazy to see like that type of disrespect go towards athletes whenever they don't even know. And like Charlie said, like, we didn't even know till now like how hard they work to do what they do. So yeah,
Yeah,
which
I
is
mean, sorry, I was just gonna say like the definition of an athlete is just like hard work and doing it for the love of the sport, right? And how you were just mentioning and how Ava was telling us, the only real reason for somebody to put themselves through as hard of practices as they do and years on years and really no time off is just for simply the love of the sport. And I mean, that's the definition of an athlete, right? Is somebody that, dedicates themselves to said sport for really no other reason, no outside motivations, and that seems to be exactly what rowing is all about. So,
for sure.
which I find so weird that they get that it's rowing that's getting that criticism because people row like just in general, whether they're doing it at like a professional or college level or not. Like if someone gets in the gym and hops on the rowing machine for an hour, like they don't really get criticism. Like, oh yeah, they're getting a good workout in. But now like that, you know, girls are on scholarship and like competing for it. Like now it's like, oh, you're not a real athlete. Like that's so it's like backwards because like that's literally doing it at the highest level. Like you're doing it on the water. You gotta turn 90 degrees, like she said, like in a boat, which is
yeah,
it's
that's
just kind of
crazy.
weird. It's kind of weird that's the line gets drawn when there's actually like competition to it.
Mhm.
Right. And maybe part of it is too, it's just like the like we said before, like just the coverage for women's sports in general just isn't really where it needs to be. I think it's a good thing that like basketball sort of getting up to speed with that. You see it a little bit more. I feel like with basketball, they're doing a pretty good job with it. But for every other sport, like it's kind of still stuck where it's been for like the past like 10 years, in my opinion, except for maybe track. I feel like track does a good job. But
Mhm.
Ben, I wanted to ask you since you did like you competed in high school with stuff like you know what it's like to be a female athlete, basically is what I'm saying. So like what do you think like what's it like being a female athlete and like, still showing up, putting in the work, like doing the same stuff that the guys do, but feeling like you don't get the same amount of respect
Yeah,
for what you do.
especially with my stature being like 5'1" and like yay big. Um, it was always hard to be taken seriously. Um, especially like when I tell people I lifeguard on the beach, they're kind of like, "Pff," like, but it's just like I can do the same things as like a man can do or a guy can do or like another woman can do. And I feel like there's a lot like aspects of like coaches being like looking down at you. Like I experienced that in swimming and I know Ava did too because I know her coach. But yeah, so I mean she genuinely is an incredible athlete. Like growing up, I looked up to her so much. She's a grade above me. So we swam on the same high school team. And it is really like inspiring to see how she's really found herself in rowing because she seems so happy. So,
Yeah, and honestly, this is like where my brain gets firing with like the whole social media coverage of it. Because like, imagine you just get like a day in a life with a Division 1 rower,
mhm.
and like not only can it be entertaining, but like that exposure, like hold on, this girl's been in the gym for 2 hours before I've even got into my 8 a.m.
Very true.
And then like, or you could do mic'd up rowing, and it's like you really, maybe hear that small talk, which is entertaining, or but you also like you're like, dang, these girls are like they're coordinated, like they got their stuff down. Like this is pretty intense if you're hearing, how they're navigating through these courses.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that wraps up another episode of Tigers on the Mic. Huge thanks to Ava for joining us and giving us an inside look at Clemson rowing.
Yeah, it was awesome to really hear that story. Like I said, it was something that, was sparking my interest throughout my time here. And it's good that I finally got that firsthand source to hear about that storytelling.
Yeah, it's been pretty great. Make sure to follow Clemson and support Clemson Rowing on social media and stay tuned for more interviews with athletes and creators from across Clemson athletics.
Yep, that was Tigers on the Mic. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Thank you.